I'm John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. We'll watch the credits from up high.
Time is produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John
And
DeSando,
I'm Wayne Miller.
and this is It's Movie Time.
It is, John, and I feel like getting out on the open road.
Well, let me tell you, I did it for 30 years,
I noticed that.
and I decided at one point probably was better to give it up if I wanted to last as long as I have lasted now.
Well, but you can always be fixed with stem cells.
Right.
But we could start our own geriatric biker club.
But it's quite a bit of nostalgia for me to be seeing the new movie, The Bikeriders.
Yes.
And partly because when I grew up, the Wild One with Brando and other motorcycle movies were at the pinnacle.
Yes.
And the country still hadn't adjusted itself to these bad boys.
And all the movies, which we'll talk about in the podcast in more detail, but the 60s particularly was a huge market for these biker movies.
Yes, it was. All right, so just brief. What's the Bikeriders about?
It's a gang that's a biker gang that this guy played by Tom Hardy. And his name's Johnny in the movie. Basically, he watches on TV the classic biker movie, The Wild One with Marlon Brando, and he really it inspired him. He really liked it. And so with a few of his buddies, and then it kind of grew and stuff like that. But it was more of kind of a family atmosphere because they would go on picnics and they'd, have these little dirt bike races, in the park and stuff like that. And they were rather a benign group to begin with. But then the whole movie is basically the tug of war over the soul of this one biker, Benny, between his girlfriend and Johnny.
And bearing a striking resemblance to Elvis.
Yeah, because he was Elvis. Austin
This
Butler.
is Austin Butler, carries a little bit of Elvis with him in his role.
In this, he really had a vibe, a cross between a Johnny Depp and a Brad Pitt. And you look at the posters, though, who I think he really modeled it on was James Dean.
Oh, yes, and he was influenced by Dean.
Yes.
Yeah, so anyway, and the Bikeriders, one of the things that I really like about it is the humanization of the whole business.
Exactly.
And it's because we've had such, I use the term in my review, we have vilified these boys, the motorcycle gangs, to an extent that they're cartoonish. And so it was time that somebody, and Jeff Nichols has put this together from the photographs of, I forget what his name
Danny Lyon.
Danny
who
Lyon,
is in the movie, and this is based on real characters. And at the end, during the end credits, I thought it was kind of interesting. They showed some of the black and white and color photographs from his book.
Yes.
And that really inspired some of the shots in this movie. Like a couple of the bikers bantering with each other and things like that. And you saw what they actually looked like, what Benny actually looked like, his girlfriend, who I thought did a great job in the movie, Jodie
Comer playing Kathy. And you're right. And one of the other things that's interesting about this movie is that Jodie Comer playing Kathy is the narrator of the film.
Yes.
So you get a female to narrate, but then the treatment of females in this is not a whole lot different from the way we treated females way back then. They were peripheral.
Yes. They were. They were to be used and discarded sometimes.
No, right.
Like poor Kathy nearly did at one point, but was kind of saved by Johnny, I believe. But anyhow, she, her portrayal here, at first I thought, oh, this is a caricature.
Well, listen to the accent.
The Brooklynese accents and stuff like that.
From the Midwest.
In Chicago of all places.
Yeah, right.
But that's what I thought was really, but she grew on me, and I thought with her, I thought, oh, she's going to be a caricature, but she really came out to be a pretty strong woman, because it was over the course of, I think, about 10 years or whatever, that you see her, as Danny is interviewing her, to go along with his photographic book.
Yeah.
But talking about somebody that, and I kept trying to really place Tom Hardy's kind of soft-spoken, almost high-pitched accent.
All right, let me interject here by saying, first of all, many of you know Tom Hardy from being Mad Max. And
exactly.
I think he's just one of the best actors of our time.
He's done a lot of things.
I think he's channeling Brando in this.
He definitely is. And of course, I was thinking about his character he played in the one Batman movie, Bane, the villain, but he was unrecognizable.
Yes, that's right, yeah. But in this one, he is mumbling like Brando, but he's more articulate actually than Brando in this.
And almost an effeminate type of a bit of a lisp, but soft-spoken. It reminded me of Brando's iconic scene in the taxi cabin on the waterfront, when he's talking to his brother and says, "I could have been a contender.
Yeah.
I could have been somebody instead of a bum."
Well, you bring up a point that I think is very, very subtle here. There's a homoerotic theme in this, and particularly between Johnny and the Austin Butler character.
Benny.
And this is, believe me, nothing to stay, if you're off put by some of this. This is not to worry about that. It is very subtle. It is almost like Casablanca, where that also has a homoerotic theme.
Between Claude Rains and Humphrey Bogart.
Right. So, but that was true then for biker gangs.
Yes.
People always suspected that these were a bunch of guys who were really gay. And it wasn't necessarily true, because they're looking for a home.
Well, look at the Village People, and one of those characters had the Indian, the cop, but also a biker guy. In his leather. Leather always lends itself to some sort of sexual theme. But
and the bikes themselves are Freudian.
Phallic symbols.
Right, phallic symbol. And part of this film that I thought Nichols carried off very well was he didn't let the bikes overwhelm the film.
Exactly.
He had some beautiful shots of them in formation.
Yes, I think so. Almost like geese flying in a V formation.
Right.
And with the very lead, dead center, but ahead of all the rest of them was Johnny, Tom Hardy's character, the leader of the pack. That iconic, I think, 50s song.
Oh yeah, and it's also a part of this whole fabric is leadership.
Yes. This would be a good example. When I kind of team taught with another professor the leadership, and I did one whole evening of clips talking about leadership portrayed in movies, and this would be an excellent one. But especially after they started, when Johnny realized he's maybe going to give it up. Because younger members of the gang, and this is one thing I kind of wanted to say, because I did a little bit of research, and they talked a lot about it when The Wild One came out in the early 50s. A lot of the early biker gangs were formed by returning soldiers from World War II. And it was their way of maintaining the camaraderie they felt in combat. And how better than, almost like cowboys, instead of riding horses, they rode their motorcycles.
And what Nichols does here is he shows how it evolves into some questionable activity, and then some that's not even so, prostitution, drugs, and so on. It didn't start that way.
And executing, probably formed.
It just kind of snowballed from that. And you have Kathy, our narrator, kind of stepping aside on all this. And what I like about her character is that she's torn. Between her love for Betty and her intrigue about the organization of men.
Exactly.
How it isn't suitable for her.
Well, and it's funny, I think why she kind of stayed with him, besides her love for Benny, was that the more family-oriented, Tom Hardy's character was a married man, hardworking, a truck driver with kids. Two daughters that are just mentioned, and just very briefly do you see a little bit of Johnny, Johnny's wife, in the background. But yeah, I thought but it was kind of like how then in real life, and this is really modeled on a real life situation, that these family-oriented biker gangs, turn criminal and turn to outlaws.
Right. All right, Wayne Miller.
Yeah.
Pete, if they want to hear more, and boy, do we have more to say about this.
We sure do.
They're going to have to go to WCBE.org, the podcast experience, at Back Talk.
Yeah.
And until that point, what do you suggest?
Big Kahuna, I'm going to recommend this movie. I think it was well acted, cinematography was great, and a great storyline. I liked it. I would put it up there as one of my top ones of the year so far.
And I agree. I'm John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the